Edverse explorers. Welcome to the first episode of Ed Lounge, a brand new podcast series by Edverse, where we explore the intersection of education and metaverse, along with the latest tech trends shaping the future of learning. In each episode, we will feature insightful conversations with industry experts. For our debut, we are thrilled to have none other than the captain of ship himself, Mr. Rishab Kapoor, the visionary founder and driving force behind Edverse. He is here with us today to share his valuable insights behind the masterpiece he has created. So let's dive into how Edverse is making waves in the world of education and explore what sets it apart from traditional systems. Thank you so much, Mr. Rishab Kapoor, for joining us today. So before we begin this podcast, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your team to our viewers and what inspired you to create something like Edverse?
Thanks, Arna. Thanks for having me. So I come from a background where my family has been in education. So my mom has been a lifelong teacher, and my father, while he's a doctor, he's spent a bit of time teaching as well. So education is something that I've really learned about by seeing my parents, and I've always been interested in how someone learns, the process of education. And when I think about our purpose in society, our purpose is to do something better for the society, and education is probably the best way that we can serve, and that's what I believe. So that's how I got into this space. And when I met Yuvraj and Gautam, they were already working in this field, and they brought something new to this field. For the last about 10 years or so, they've been working with the likes of Pearson, Google, Meta, and they've made some amazing applications for interactive learning and capturing the interest of learners. So that's where I think that when I got with them and we discussed the idea of Edverse, there's something deeper actually that we need to look at first. If you just think of our education system today, I mean, everything is about rote learning, and the world has definitely moved on from that. Ever since the time of Google, people don't look at encyclopedias anymore, and now AI revolution has come in. But our education system is still stuck where it was maybe about 200 years back. This is something that needs a change, and I feel that that's where the concept of Edverse has come in. What does Edverse say? That we need gamification, we need interactive learning, we need to capture the attention of learners and make learning more active rather than just one way and passive.
So can you briefly explain to our viewers this whole concept of metaverse and what is Edverse all about?
Just to give you an example, have you heard of this game PUBG? I'm sure you would have heard of it. What exactly it enables is people to create their avatar and interact with each other in a digital space. This digital space is what we call as the metaverse. Now, PUBG and other games are using it for entertainment, for having fun together, but you can use it for so many different things like education. One of our clients is using the metaverse to create a digital twin of their factory and allow workers to try and learn about how to do the various processes within the factory without having to stop the factory. It enabled all its workers to be trained without any risk of harm, without any cost to the factory, and it let them completely understand their role without setting foot into the factory. So this saved a lot of training time, a lot of factories' costs. The metaverse can be used for anything, and education is one of those very important applications of it.
Okay, so what I understood is you're trying to make most out of this concept of metaverse rather than just limiting it for interaction and gaming. We can also use it in a more productive manner like learning, training, right?
That's right. And when it comes specifically to Edverse, now think of all of these experiences that you've had which are related to learning. Now, To give you an example, when learning to drive, no one can teach you how to drive by telling you the concept about it. You still need to get behind the wheel, sit, understand the different kinds of traffic, what kind of turn do you need to take, when to take it. Now imagine instead of putting these young learners on the road with the cars, instead of that we had them wear a VR or a simulator and help them drive using that simulator. It's so much easier to learn. And this is exactly what the Metaverse is for. Edverse wants to be a hub where these kind of learning experiences or training experiences can be collected in a single place. And what we as Edverse want to do is just create the platform where someone like a driving school can list their course. Maybe someone who wants to teach about human anatomy can list their 3D models and their interactive courses, and students can come and learn from a variety of different courses available.
So you're saying that with Edverse, it won't be just limited to the educators, teachers or students. You also mentioned creators, the one who will be listing these 3D models and digital assets.
Correct. We don't expect that teachers on their own will be able to create the entire 3D model and everything. That's why we've created a creator tool for our next stakeholder who can list their 3D models on the platform and monetize it. Now, when creators list their 3D models, educators use it, learners are coming, it creates a nice ecosystem where everyone is benefiting from it, and the platform is enabling all of them. Apart from this, we have one more stakeholder called the promoters. Promoters are the ones who are institutions or someone who can take this up to the next stage of growth, I would say. Someone like maybe a Pearson, maybe a Harvard, who wants to take this learning and publish it for themselves. So they become like resellers of these courses inside the Metaverse.
So all these stakeholders, including the students, as you mentioned the word stakeholder for them, are they also the one who will be benefiting in terms of generating revenue or monetizing it?
Students will necessarily not be monetizing this, but the platform has a reward structure in place to encourage more users. Students today, when they're doing courses, they don't always finish their courses. In fact, about 70% of courses are incomplete by students, especially online. So to encourage them to finish it, to get better marks, to do well, we will be giving out rewards, and these are from the platform side. It doesn't have to come from the teacher. For teachers to list more courses and encourage them to participate, list out better courses, get a higher rating, we are again releasing awards and rewards on the platform. Similarly, we'll have rewards for creators as well. So this way we are encouraging the ecosystem to grow, we are encouraging different stakeholders to come in, and that leads to overall benefit for everybody.
So that's why they are given this term, stakeholders.
Correct. That's right.
So can you share some real world problems in education that Edverse seeks to solve?
Sure. So I'm remembering this one specific case from a university. I'll not name them. They were a client of Edverse in 2023 and continued for about a year. They were from Afghanistan. I'm sure you must have heard that in 2021, when the Taliban took over, Afghanistan banned girl-child education post 6th standard. And that was heartbreaking to hear. So this client of ours, they come to us and they say, we don't want to follow the Taliban's rule, but we are forced to follow it. So we want to set up a distance-based learning from an institution outside of Afghanistan that allows our children, our girls, to be educated further. And they wanted to use Edverse's platform, and they did for a while. So these kinds of cases also come up where online education is a necessity which kind of imitates real life learning to a very large extent. So I would say the other generic problems that we are trying to solve is trying to make learning more fun. today's generation is used to maybe Roblox, maybe phones or videos all the time. It's hard to get them to sit still, listen and read, and they definitely need more active learning to come in, and that's what's definitely missing and what Edverse is trying to solve. Another thing is the effectiveness of teaching tools. In fact, there are thousands of studies that have been done which compare VR based learning to textbook and video based learning. And video based learning is again passive. VR is definitely more active. It involves the learner, and that is something that is really required to increase the efficiency of today's learning, increase retention.
So even I saw these documentaries of how Taliban is affecting education system for girls in Afghanistan, and I'm not just saying, I literally had tears in my eyes. It was so heartbreaking. I saw some couple of interviews of the girls who said they want to get education, but they can't. They don't know what to do about it. So I think what Edverse is doing would be something really beautiful for them.
Yeah, I mean, it is really, really sad to hear, especially when you think of your own sister, your mother. It's really heartbreaking that they're not given the chance.
So how does Edverse stand out from other educational platforms?
Edverse has two competitors. One is a kind of education platform as a competitor, and the second is a Metaverse platform as a competitor. If we compare with both, now with education platforms, there's definitely a huge advantage when we come to interactive learning. They have videos that mostly just teach you by telling you what is the answer, rather than Edverse, which will make you interact, which will be student-led and learner-focused. So I think that when you take something like 3D based learning, when you take interactive gamified learning, there's no substitute for that, and that way Edverse has a huge advantage over other education platforms. When we look at Metaverse platforms specifically, Metaverse platforms exist, but they are more game centric, and nothing really is education centric right now across the globe. So we feel that right now we don't have any competitors, but we would definitely encourage more platforms to come out in the same space or join Edverse, where it's easy, and any kind of content creators, you just have to list your content over here, and you can start earning directly from Edverse.
So do you think schools and universities will still operate as they know them?
The question is, when will they switch from the conventional style of learning to the style that we want them to, which is more interactive, more focused on the skills of today? And a lot of that will be driven by the government. In India, we've seen the National Education Policy come out in 2020, which recommended a lot of good things, including AR, VR, including AI, and they are not really focused on the execution. It's just a directive that's come out. Schools, colleges, no one is following this. So the point really is, how much time can schools and universities afford to waste by sitting back and letting the world move ahead? People will eventually realize that because schools and universities are still focused on the current system of education, more and more people will opt for alternatives, which might be micro courses, which might be other online or tuitions, or different kinds of alternative education systems, maybe even Edverse. So we see that the schools and universities of today need to do it. The question is, when will they do it?
So how do you envision Edverse evolving over the next few years in terms of growth and global education?
So I'm proud to tell you that currently we have more than 50 schools and universities already signed up with Edverse, and more than 20,000 students. So these are students and universities that have registered. We are expecting that our creator platform, which will allow anyone to come and list their course and publish it on Edverse, to be live by the end of this year. And that will unlock the next phase of growth. by 2025, we definitely feel we will have more than 1,000 schools and colleges and over a lakh learners. That's 100,000 learners on the platform, and just keep growing exponentially from there.
Okay, so this was very insightful. Now let's move on to the next segment of this podcast. So my first question would be, what are the biggest technological trends right now in education that educators should be aware of?
Okay, I'll ask you, Dhanna, about this. You use ChatGPT?
Yes, all the time.
A lot. Okay. Well, students do too. And if teachers think that students are not using ChatGPT for all of their submissions and essays and assignments, then they're dead wrong. Everybody uses ChatGPT, and that's something, the AI revolution is something that everyone needs to be aware of and needs to now incorporate into learning. I'll ask you another question. Have you used or seen a VR headset?
Yes, I've experienced it.
You have experienced it. So, can I ask, when was the first time you experienced it?
I think it was years back, maybe around 6-7 years back. I used it when I went to some amusement park for those roller coaster ride. That's when I first experienced it.
Yeah, I think for me also it was around that time, 2017-18, and I also saw it in the same space in a roller coaster park. And at that point of time, when you look at VR for the first time, you are just lost in this world, in this immersive world. And at that time, most of the applications were, like you said, gaming, entertainment. But the world has moved on so much from that. I mean, if you use a Quest 2 or Quest 3 device, you can see the kind of applications that are there. And especially for learning, I think there are so many different applications that can be there, including, let's say you want to show something in geography. So you take them to that, part of the planet, you show them an underwater life, maybe go back in time to historical time. So all of these applications of AR, VR can be there in education as well. The next trend that I want to talk about is gamification. Now, gamification is huge. Educators agree. In fact, the only problem is that while everyone wants gamification, they don't know how to do it in the classroom. They don't want to discard what they already have, which is presentations, which is videos, and move on to something where the student is more actively involved. That's the problem, but otherwise everybody agrees that gamification is definitely going to take over education. Apart from that, Metaverse is a technological trend that I feel is largely underestimated, because when it initially came and the wave came down, people thought that it was just a fad. But the reality is that Metaverse incorporates VR, it incorporates AI, and it can be made so big for education, and that's what Edverse will also show.
So any exciting projects or developments coming in the future?
Yes, in fact, there are 3. So I'll start with the creator platform. Imagine I want to take a course in 3D in an immersive environment, but I don't know how. I'm not a technical person. So what do? I can just go onto Edverse, get into the creator platform, and bring in different objects, bring in different kinds of environments that I want to show. For example, if I want to take a course on heart surgery, I mean something as difficult as that, I want to show a damaged heart with a certain kind of disease, let's suppose, or a certain blockage of a particular artery. What will I do? I'll create a 3D environment of an operating table, of an operating room. I'll bring in an operating table and a cadaver. I'll put in the model of a 3D heart which has that particular blockage that I want to show, and I will enable interactivity with a scalpel, with different forceps or whatever else is required, and create a journey for students to come in and start actually cutting open the cadaver, looking inside, finding the damaged artery, performing a stent operation or anything. And yes, heart surgery is something that you can enable using Edverse's creator platform. So that's coming very soon. By the end of this year is what is planned. The second launch that we have is of our learn space. So while I create this environment, if I want to bring in 20 people to come in with me, perform this surgery, or take them individually to perform this surgery on their own, I can do that. And that feature is called Edverse Learn Space. So this will be releasing very soon after the creator tool is launched. The third application that I want to talk about is the Edverse Marketplace. Now, I don't have all the 3D models even as a creator, but can I just go to a marketplace, pick up something and use that in my 3D environment and create that learning experience for someone? Yes, I can. So on the Edverse Marketplace, we'll have different kinds of 3D models, environments, what we call as a skybox. So all of these categories of 3D assets will be listed and can be used by anyone using the marketplace. So these are the three exciting launches that we have, all by the end of this year or early next year.
That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, I'm also excited about it, definitely.
So now we'll move to our third segment, which is practical applications of Edverse in education and how Edverse is already making an impact. So could you share some real-world examples of how Edverse is being used today, whether by institutions, educators, students, or, as you said, promoters?
Sure, definitely. I'll just take some names. So we have one Saint Soldier School, we have Riverside College in Philippines, we have SHRM, which is a Society of Human Resource Management. And these are all three prime examples of how Edverse can be used. So Saint Soldier School in Chandigarh, in fact, has been using Edverse for showing a VR experience to their students. So they've created kind of a VR classroom where students come of different ages, they interact, they learn, and they tinker kind of with the different concepts at a younger age. Riverside College Philippines is using Edverse for running online classes. Or Riverside College is a place where it's a little difficult to reach all the time. So they have their students joining in from surrounding areas, and it's always flooded is what I was led to believe by them. So they wanted some good interactive online setup like Edverse to take their classes. So that's where Edverse has been working with them since last year. And SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management, they're using Edverse to conduct events. Now they are a global society and they have participants from all over the world, and they wanted a place where it could be more than a monotonous, boring Zoom or Google Meet, and they wanted something where their participants could be involved and walk around, feel like they're all together in the same room. And that's what Edverse has done for them for all their events that happen, I think, monthly and weekly as well.
So what was their take on this? I'm sure you must have received some feedbacks from them.
We have, so SHRM, for example, was really happy, and they were able to showcase some innovation in their leadership teams as well. The feedback from the participants was that they were really happy. This is a new way to learn, and their engagement numbers are going through the roof. So that's SHRM. One thing we noticed with Riverside College Philippines is that people over there are a little shy to show their face, to come on camera, and most of their classes which were online in Google Meet, people would keep their camera off, sit back, not interact. So it was practically monotonous and one-way teaching, boring for teachers as well. So this is something that made the students come out without fear of being seen. You know, someone who's an introvert has their avatar running around, they don't feel so shy about it, versus if they were there and showing their face, then you'd feel a little more subdued and passive. So that's something that is an insight for us.
That's really great, because there are students who are afraid to speak up for them. This is revolutionary.
Absolutely, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
So as you were saying all these things, I went nostalgic about my time. I was an introvert, always afraid of speaking in front of whole class, participating in debates. So I was thinking that if something like this would have existed at that time, then how much it would have impacted my personality, public speaking skills.
Absolutely, and I mean, so if you're an introvert, you know that if you're an introvert, you're always feeling left out. You feel you're sitting in the back of the class and not interacting with others, or extreme front of the class. So I get what you mean, and it's tough to make friends. It's tough to blossom as a personality, especially as an introvert. So maybe something like this could have helped students like you.
So for someone who is new to this, what would be the first step they should take to start leveraging these tools in their learning or teaching?
This is something that all our clients or potential clients ask us, and we always tell them start small. It's not going to be easy to suddenly change the way things are done, especially when you look at online classes. When COVID hit, people had to change, and they did for the most part, but people were not happy with it. And I think when coming back to classroom, in physical classrooms, they were more and more comfortable with that. So online has become like a way to have classes in case there's an emergency or there's a problem, but doesn't mean it can't be made fun, more effective and better. It shouldn't just be a kind of day off, right? So slowly, when you start to implement Edverse, maybe you can have it as a field trip day, for a virtual field trip day for the students of a particular section, and start with science, start with social science. These are subjects where it's very important to have visual stimulus apart from, just lectures and theory. So I would suggest to start small. Another thing that comes to mind is when you talk about teachers. My mom's a teacher as well, and it is difficult to do anything in the classroom without having the buy-in from the teacher. Now, it's also difficult to get their buy-in, but once you do, it's they who are going to impact the students' lives. So it's very important that they are on board, and they are the ones who are leading the initiative. So taking teachers in confidence is something that we always tell our institutional partners.
Moving to our last segment, which is rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask you questions, and I'm expecting answers that should be rapid and full of fire.
Okay.
So if you could describe Edverse impact on education in one line, what would it be?
One line. Okay, I would say from passive learning to active learning.
So what's that one misconception about the Edverse that you would like to debunk?
This is something we get a lot. People think that only VR is Metaverse, but that's definitely not the case. Something like a PUBG Mobile or Pokemon Go, all of these are examples of Metaverses, and you don't need VR to start using or accessing the Metaverse.
So what I understood is VR is something that makes it more immersive, but Metaverse means that place where you can interact with each other in the digital world, right?
Yeah, Metaverse is the shared space, and you can interact with your phone, you can interact whether you're in VR or laptop, but if you don't, you can still interact, right? VR makes it definitely more immersive, you're right about it.
Okay. So one word to describe the future of education.
Future of education, limitless. It's growing, and it's just going to be beyond what we imagine.
So this one is interesting. So who is one person, living or historical, you would love to see exploring Edverse?
Okay, so this is actually a pet project of ours. and it's possible now thanks to AI. We're trying to bring in Leonardo da Vinci as one of the AI bots on Edverse. So he's someone who's always been curious, ahead of his time, willing to tinker and experiment and create amazing projects. So we're trying to bring him as a character on Edverse as well.
So the last question, what's a quick motivating piece of advice for educators who are hesitant to embrace Metaverse technology in their institute?
Educators are all under the impression that Metaverse is going to replace traditional teaching. It is not. It is augmenting your students. It is augmenting teaching and your methods. And by embracing this technology, you're giving students that experience that gives better understanding, deeper understanding, and it's beneficial for everyone.
Okay, with this, we end this podcast, and it was a great conversation, very insightful. Thank you so much for your time and such invaluable insights. And we're excited to see how Edverse continue to innovate and empower learners and educators worldwide. A very best of luck to you and your whole team, and we just can't wait to see how Edverse shape up the future of education. Once again, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you so much, Tarna. Yeah, thank you. That was a lot of fun giving that interview. Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of this insightful conversation on Ed Lounge. A big thank you to Mr. Rishab Kapoor for sharing his vision and expertise with us. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion on Metaverse and future of education. To stay updated with the latest from Edverse and continue exploring the future of learning, stay tuned for more exciting episodes featuring thought leaders and tech innovators. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our Discord community. Be a part of the conversation and this exciting journey. Till then, as I always say, stay curious, stay adventurous, and most importantly, stay awesome. Let's meet in Edverse.